Boa tarde. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Buon pomeriggio. Sono italiano. You are heroes after 8 hours of bombardment, okay, of APIs, anything that relates to APIs, artificial intelligence, artificial ignorance, everything. So congratulations for having survived. You're most welcome here. Now, I was an analyst with Gartner quite some time back. I did that 23 years. And because I always talked about APIs, even, 25 years ago, people used to call me Mr. API. And that name has stuck a bit. And it's a bit of a James Bond moment for me. You know, when Bond introduces himself, right? And he says, the name is Bond, James Bond, right? So every time I could say, my name is API, Mr. API, okay? So let's get going. I'm going to talk about things that nobody wants to talk about, which is when things go wrong, okay, with AI. So I have a few things and surprising lined up. I know that once this finishes and you go back home, it will be difficult for you to understand. So it will be difficult for you to remember everything. Okay, but I'll make that job a little bit easier for you, okay? I'll make it a little bit easier. Now, first of all, I want you to listen to me, okay? Not because, expert, in the world, no mundo, fine. But I wanted to give you another good reason to listen to me. I do keynotes all around the world. And those are the recordings that you can find online. When I did this, I was still a Gartner analyst. When I did this, I was actually in Salesforce MuleSoft, doing the same job I do for Sensedia now. And then I did a few other ones. I did a keynote here last year. Why am I saying all this? Because they get me to say things about the future. And if I say things about the future that don't come true, they don't call me again, okay? And I lose my face, okay? Now, I've been 23 years as an analyst, so I tend to get most of the things right, but I wanted to give you a little proof for that. Now, and I'm going to take this keynote as a starting point. It was about 1.5 years ago, and it was titled "The Next 5 Years of the API Economy." So I'm going to start from that. Please take into account that this keynote was done at the same time when, let's say, a generally unknown company, and it was generally unknown at that stage, I knew them, but called OpenAI, started shipping an application called ChatGPT. So I did the keynote before, okay? So the world has changed since then, okay, quite a lot, but keep that thought. Now, why am I saying that? Because I'm pleased to say that I got quite a lot of the things right in that prediction of the next 5 years. And you have a list here of all the things that I got right. Okay. And there's plenty there. Some of them I will keep talking about because they are ongoing. That was just 1.5 years ago, and I still have 3.5 years to go. And now I have even more than 5 going to 2030. Okay? I'm sure you're curious, though, in knowing what I did not get right. Okay? Well, I mean, mainly one thing. It's called the metaverse. Okay? What actually happened was that, well, I mean, I did say a few things that were right, like these 3 things here. And I did warn, and you can look at the recording, and it's in the recording, okay? So I'm not cheating on it. I did say, certainly the metaverse is evolving, but we are too far away to make API assumptions about the metaverse. Okay. So yes, I tend to get a lot of things right about the future, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking to you. Okay. So please listen to Mr. API. Okay. It won't be difficult. I'll make it fun for you. Now, I said I would make it easier for you. Now, you take your phones out, get your cameras ready, and you will have to say with me, there is no AI without APIs, okay? So let me stand in the right place. Okay? So there is no AI without APIs. So remember that, okay? It's easier. Like some of you even videoed that. But that's when you will be bombardment about AI, APIs, and so on, and we'll go home, you will remember this. That's all I want. No, it's not all I'm asking you. I want you to remember more, but at least you will remember that, okay? Now, every application, let me say it again, every application, including the old ones, will weave in, we start using some AI, okay? And this is which will be changing applications forever. It might be because, it's easier to search for things, easier to find them, give you suggestion on the so-called, I used to call it the next best action when I was in Salesforce. So AI will help users of applications. Obviously, AI made a lot of advances in recognizing voice, okay, and interpreting natural language, especially if you talk in English. If you talk Portuguese, maybe a bit less, but it will come, okay? So this is changing application doesn't mean we will throw our keyboards away. Maybe we will, okay? Because we will talk to the applications. But that's much more, because with AI, when at a certain level, when, say you are in a bank, and you are in the section that decides about mortgages, there will be a set of criteria that you will have to follow whether to decide whether you will issue a mortgage, approve a mortgage or not. Now, AI will learn that, okay? So we say, look, based on all the evidence, I think this poor guy, Paolo, he really doesn't have the numbers for the mortgage. Okay, he goes around the world, he doesn't earn any money. So I suggest that we don't approve the mortgage for Paolo, okay? Now, If there are 2, 3 more, five more Paulos, at some stage say, look, for the previous one, we never approved, so maybe we should approve this one. After the fifth, sixth, it will stop asking. It will just not approve it. So AI is different from anything else in that it takes decision powers away from us. Okay? That is what is different. It's not just technology. It's a major, major change in our societal behavior. Okay? So that's just the beginning, though. Okay? And this will be increasingly happening from here to 2030. Should we be worried about that? Yes, we should. We should. And I'll get to that point, but hold it for a second. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about what happens when AI goes wrong. Now, look at these two images. Well, look at the image first on the left of the slide. This is a genuine Facebook post. The Queensland Symphony Orchestra in Australia wanted to attract young couples to classical music concerts. So they devised a very clever prompt to generate an image that would entice young couples like the one that you can see in the image. They would invite young couples to come and listen to the orchestra. And this is the image that came out, and you can see it's very nice. This is very kind of young and trendy couple. But then you look at it. Well, generative AI in images of humans generally has a problem with the number of fingers. Okay. And you go look at the fingers and you say, yeah, maybe. There's more though. Look at the young man who's wearing a gown, the same gown of his young lady. You wouldn't go to the opera dressed like that. And he says, come and see an orchestra play. The orchestra is behind them. They don't see the orchestra play, you know? Or, I don't know, there's much more wrong. Look at the position of the organs and all the pipes of the organs. There are violinists who have 0, 1, 2, 3 hands. And in an orchestra, there's much more than violins. So there was a huge backlash when this came out. And basically, they wanted to get more people, they got less people. It was AI gone wrong, but without supervision. And the other example is Google Pizza. I don't know if it was a joke that went on they went around social networks some time back. So there's a guy that, well, there is a link there to the joke, but there is a guy that phones up for his pizza and he says, okay, this is Google Pizza. He said, oh, no, sorry, I thought it was Gino's Pizza. He said, yeah, Google Pizza took that over. Would you like your usual one? He said, oh, you know what my usual one? Yeah, because typically from this number, he always order a pizza with, I don't know, pepperoni, sausages, and bacon, and so on. And I said, well, I'm glad you know that. And then the voice of Google Pizza says, well, can I suggest, what does he say? Ricotta, arugula, and dry tomatoes instead. And the guy says, no, I don't want that pizza. But then, he says, well, your cholesterol is not good. I say, how do you know my cholesterol is not good? We got, records from your doctors that tell us that. And And then he says, I take the medicine for the cholesterol. And the voice says, no, you're not. The last time you bought medicines was 6 months ago. You should have bought more 3 months ago. And it says, how would you know? Well, we checked your credit card records. I say, oh, I bought them with cash. Oh, you didn't withdraw cash in the last 3 months. And then, there is this escalation of things, and then you can look at all jokes. And at the end, the guy goes, oh, listen, I want to go and live in a place where I don't have any sort of big brother that is looking at what I am doing. And the voice says, I'm afraid you can't. Your passport has expired. Okay, so that's the end of the joke. But anyway, it's the classical example of AI going wrong with no privacy. Okay, because if this person would be able to protect his own personal data, bank records, anything, his healthcare records and so on, this would not have happened, okay? So these are two silly examples of what to do when AI goes wrong. But if AI then, denies me a mortgage, then I really get annoyed, okay? And there's nobody to argue it with. Nor there would be people being able to explain to me why that is annoyed. So how can we prevent all this from happening? Again, hold that thought for a while, because there's much more than AI happening. And at the beginning of this show, Kleber and Marsilio presented about open banking. Open banking that, obviously is coming across the world. Why I'm talking about open banking? Because this is API in 2030. There will be much more open banking in 2030 than now. There are regulations coming across, not just Brazil, because Brazil is quite advanced, but also in the rest of Latin America. We have people here from there, and thank you for coming and making the trip. Is even going into the US. We just recorded a podcast on this particular topic and why open banking is good for everybody. It is good for us as customers, it's good for the banks, it's good for all the fintechs, and anyway. There is actually also a very nice example of why open banking is good in this webinar that was recorded a couple of months ago. So I won't spend too much time on it. Another thing that will become much more systematic, and is not a new trend either, is platform engineering. Again, this was discussed this morning. The platform engineering is about making sure that your APIs get used. A lot of API programs are about publishing API in the hope somebody will use them after. This is different. The focus is not on the API you publish. The focus is on the people who consume those API. And the people, by the way, might not be people. Okay? Because there will be a lot of consumption of API by non-programmers, non-engineers, not people who consume. Low code is now a reality, and there's lots of ways to compose new applications based on putting boxes together, like, Tony Stark in the Marvel movies when he was moving things around. I can't do it, otherwise the microphone will get in my face. But it's not only that. Machines will use APIs, okay? Now, you heard this morning about AI Copilot, which is a good advance, in this case, because it will help designers design the right APIs. And let me stress one thing. Whoever is designing is in control. Can decide to take this API, to make this modification or not. The API, the AI is an addition to the capabilities whoever is designed. This is very important. This is not taking decision powers away. It's helping advancing a specific process. And then, in time you will have AI suggesting where to find the APIs you need, suggesting which APIs maybe you should consume, okay? And that's all becoming. So if I was one of you, and as a technology specialist, as a developer, as an architect, okay, so all of this thing AI is going to do. So do I still matter? Does my job still matter? Should I look for a different job? And the answer to that is very simple. It matters more than anything else. More than anything else. And let me tell you why. Because AI APIs are different. AI APIs are taking over bits of decisions that we might not want to take. They not necessarily just inform us of what is out there, and they help us doing whatever we're trying to do, but we will become used to them. Like now we're becoming used to mobile phones. And that's the positive side. But I like the negative side quite a lot, as you can tell by my presentation. So if you are designing AI APIs, please refuse to inject bias in them. It's very, very easy to package bias in an AI API in a black box. Very, very easy, okay? And why would you do that for commercial reasons? Typically, to please your employer or for financial reasons. Take also into account that whichever AI API you're doing, there will be a lot of non-human consumers of those APIs. So, and why am I saying this? Because AI, as you could tell from the examples, especially the one about the orchestra, AI, generative AI in particular, doesn't know what is true from what is false. Okay? You can say you heard it from me because not many people will tell you. But it doesn't know that. Okay? It accumulates a lot of knowledge, but it doesn't know whether that knowledge is biased, not biased, proprietary, or not. So as such, sometimes takes it completely to incredible errors. I remember Sensedia is in Campinas, and I asked AI, so what is the best shopping center in Campinas? And he listed about 10 of them. And I said, okay. I didn't know there were 10 shopping centers, in Campinas. And it turned out that about 5 of those 10 didn't exist. But he was telling me the shops that were on those shopping centers, and it was totally non-existent. So be careful with that. If you do AI APIs, please take into account that not all consumption of those AI API will be benign. Okay. Look at what we did with elections and the consumption of social networks APIs. The consumption of API is not necessarily benign. There's a lot that you can do today, to prevent that from happening. You can put the right policies of usage, rate limiting, or there's a lot of API security that is actually very, very AI dense that you can use, okay? On the other hand, only a fraction of you who will work in AI technology, only a fraction of you will be on the left side of this slide. Most of you will be on the right side of this slide, will be consuming AI APIs, okay? So just take for granted that you might not get fair results in your usage of AI API, because and it might not even be malicious, like the shopping centers in Campinas, okay? So take into account that you just can't go wrong. As a matter of fact, generative AI typically goes wrong half of the time, okay? So you need to look at it. You need to kind of monitor it. Like the guys of the orchestra should have looked at that picture before he went out, okay? Is it real APIs? Who paid for the development of the API? So be always inquisitive. Can you train the algorithm of the API with your own data? I know it's expensive, but at least you know it will be more accurate. Can you trust the results? And if it goes wrong, what is the consequence? And that is the point. The consequences, the guys at the orchestra in Australia, they didn't think of the consequences of the backlash, but do when you use AI API, just please do, because, the errors are still very, very high. But somnambular is the word, right? Sleepwalk. Whenever we have a new technology, we tend to sleepwalk into it. Oh, we got mobile phones. Those are great things, right? And then, did we know that our kids wouldn't talk to each other anymore because we had mobile phones? We didn't know. We sleepwalked through it. They're good things, okay? So sleepwalking into AI is much more dangerous because of this fact of the decision power. How many of you saw the Terminator movies? Okay. Well, it's all about that Terminator scenario approaching and how close you think you are. Now, by now you have this lovely picture. It took us a while to get an image generation to hallucinate this way. I tried, but it took us a while. I mean, at the end, the prompt that did it was create a fast chicken with 3 legs. How many of you know that? It's an old joke about the chicken with 3 legs. Okay, no, maybe I'll say it. Now, there is this guy who's driving along the country, and all of a sudden looks beside the car, and there's a chicken beside the car. Is running with the car. And the guy said, well, I'm doing 50. It's a pretty fast chicken. And he notices that the chicken has 3 legs. Okay? So he accelerates, goes 60, and the chicken is still there running. 70, still there. At 80, the chicken looks, and then it goes zoom past the camera. And the driver sees that the chicken just takes a turn into a farm. So he decides to follow. So he gets to the farm, and he sees the farmer, fazendero, right? And he says, look, do you mind? I saw a 3-legged chicken coming into this farm, And the person there said, yeah. I said, because, myself, my wife, and now we have a menino, we all like legs in chickens. And, to get 3 legs, I have to cook 2 chickens, so I decided to breed 3-legged chickens. So that just with cooking 1 chicken, we would all eat. I said, oh, that's very interesting. And he says, well, but, are they good, these chickens? Did you try them? And I said, no, I didn't. And he said, well, how come you didn't try them? I was never able to catch one. Okay. This is sleepwalking. That's what we're doing with AI. We're sleepwalking into it. And, we shouldn't. It's very, very dangerous because the investments on AI, the investments are going to be dictated not by what is good for us, they're going to be dictated by profit. Okay? And that is the scary thing. Just a final word of wisdom by a rock star who you might know. Actually, the people who were here before, they might have heard one of his songs before this started. Let me see.
The biggest concern, investments on AI to make machines smarter. There's no limit to the amount of money that's been pumped into it. The investment in HI to make humans smarter, human intelligence, that's just sad. It's sad that we're going to live in a world right around the corner where machines will be more articulate, analytical, critical thinking, banter ability, contextual, deep understanding, while we have resorted to short tweets, emojis, memes, and stickers to communicate.
Well, wise words, worth thinking about. But my final point is this. Whatever non-ethical, either publishing or usage of AI, whatever skewed thing that might happen in the world goes through this room, goes through you. It cannot happen if you're a developer and you refuse to put bias into an API. It cannot happen if you're an architect or an API product manager and you say, well, in order to be able to use this API, I want to have this level of assurance first from the people who are going to consume. These are things and decisions you make, okay? So my final question to you is, who are you going to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be that person that is a slave of some corporate, if you want, a revenue searching bid and injects wrong things into an API or uses an API in the wrong way because of corporate decision? Do you want to be that guy? Or do you want to be the guy that says, hold on, this is wrong. This is not me, okay? I want to look at myself in the mirror in the morning and be happy. That is the thought I want to leave you with. Who do you want to be? Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Paolo. When you say ethical, we've been discussing with a client of ours, Cyrano, in the US. Would you mind explain a little bit the introduction of bias on selling technology, for example?
Well, obviously, the Cyrano example is particular because it it is based on psychologists analyzing the psyche of anybody, and including potential buyers. And that's okay, there's a very positive side to it, you know. However, then if you start tuning your selling messages, because you know that this is the thing they're going to think next, and your selling messages are not truthful, because you want them to do that, that's not ethical, okay? So there is a good side of it, there is a good side of it, and there is not a good side of it. How would you take that? Well, I mean, obviously, as a provider of API, you do completely unbiased APIs. You know, as a user of API, then you have to ask yourself if you are pushing people in the right direction, or whether you're just making it up for them so that they buy stuff that they might not need, you know? So, and again, it's a decision that is in this room.
All right, awesome. Paolo, we are short of time, so I'd like to thank you again. Paolo is from Italy, and recently he presented me the best tiramisu in the world, so I thank you for that also. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.